My name is Rebecca, and I'm 22 years old. The day I graduated from college with highest honors should have been the proudest moment of my life. Instead, I watched my 9-year-old nephew Tyler grab my $350 custom graduation cake and throw it onto my parents' kitchen floor. The beautiful 3-tier cake with my name written in gold frosting exploded across the tiles. Tyler looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Eat it off the ground, Aunt Rebecca. That's where failures belong." My sister Melissa stood there and laughed. Actually laughed. This wasn't the first time my family had humiliated me, but it would be the last. What Tyler and Melissa didn't know was that I had been recording everything for the past 3 months. And I was about to show the entire family who the real failure was. Before we dive into this story, I want to know where you're watching from. Drop your location in the comments because this family drama transcends borders, and I know some of you have lived through similar situations with toxic relatives. If you've ever been the scapegoat in your family while watching the golden child get away with everything, hit that like button right now. And please subscribe because you're going to want to see how I made them all face the consequences of 22 years of favoritism and betrayal. Trust me, the revenge I served was cold, calculated, and completely legal. Now, let me take you back to the beginning. Growing up in the Patterson family meant understanding your place in the hierarchy from a very young age. I learned mine when I was around 7 years old. My sister Melissa was 13 at the time, and she could do absolutely no wrong in our parents' eyes. Robert and Patricia Patterson had created a family structure where Melissa was the sun, and I was expected to orbit around her, never shining too brightly, never demanding too much attention. I remember the exact moment I realized something was fundamentally wrong. I was 12 years old and had just won the regional science fair. I spent 3 months building a working model of the solar system with accurate orbital patterns. The judges were impressed. My teacher told me it was the best project she'd seen in 15 years. I was so excited to show my parents. I called them from the school office, bouncing on my toes, waiting for them to share my joy. My mother answered the phone. "Mom, I won! I won first place at the regional science fair." I practically shouted into the receiver. There was a pause. Then, "That's wonderful, sweetie. Listen, we're at Melissa's volleyball game right now. We'll celebrate when we get home." They never came to see my project. They didn't make it home until almost 9 that night. By then, my project was packed away, and my excitement had cooled into something that felt suspiciously like understanding. Melissa's volleyball team had lost their game that afternoon. She wasn't even a starter. She sat on the bench for most of the match. But my parents had been there cheering, taking photos, making her feel special. My science fair trophy sat on the kitchen counter for 1 day before being moved to a shelf in my room. Melissa's participation ribbon from that same volleyball season stayed on the refrigerator for 6 months. The pattern repeated itself throughout my childhood and teenage years. When I brought home straight A report cards, my mother would glance at them and say, "Very nice, dear," before going back to whatever she was doing. When Melissa brought home a report card with mostly B's and a few C's, my parents would celebrate. They'd take her out for ice cream. They'd tell her how proud they were that she was trying her best. I quickly learned that my best was expected while Melissa's mediocre efforts were celebrated. The disparity became even more apparent when it came to college. My parents sat Melissa down during her junior year of high school and assured her they would pay for her entire college education. They took her on tours of different state universities. They helped her with applications. They told her not to worry about money because they had been saving for her education since she was born. Melissa chose a decent state school and enrolled with full financial support from our parents. I watched all of this happen, and somewhere in the back of my mind, I assumed the same support would be there for me. I was wrong. When I was a junior in high school and started talking about college, my father sat me down for a very different conversation. "Rebecca, your mother and I think it's important for you to learn financial responsibility," he said, not quite meeting my eyes. "You're a smart girl. You can get scholarships. We think it would be good for you to work for your education. It builds character." I remember staring at him, trying to process what he was saying. "But you paid for Melissa's college. Melissa needed our help. You're more capable. You'll be fine." That was it. The conversation was over. I was 16 years old and being told I was on my own because I was too capable to deserve help. The message was clear. Success would not be rewarded in this family. Struggle would. Need would. But achievement made people uncomfortable. I threw myself into scholarship applications. I worked 3 jobs during my senior year of high school. I babysat on weekends, worked at a coffee shop after school, and did online data entry late at night. I barely slept. My grades never slipped. I graduated as valedictorian. I earned a full academic scholarship to the same state university Melissa had attended. My parents came to my high school graduation, took a few photos, and that was that. No celebration dinner, no gifts. Just well done, dear. We knew you could do it. Meanwhile, Melissa's life took a turn during her sophomore year of college. She got pregnant. She was 19 years old dating a guy named Derek who worked at a car wash and had no ambitions beyond his next paycheck. When she told our parents she was pregnant, I expected disappointment, maybe even anger. Instead, I witnessed something that crystallized the family dynamic forever. My mother cried tears of joy. My father hugged Melissa and told her everything would be okay. They threw her a baby shower with 40 guests. They bought everything she needed for the nursery. They promised to help her raise the baby. Melissa dropped out of college, and not once did I hear my parents express concern about her unfinished degree. All I heard was excitement about becoming grandparents. Tyler was born in March of that year. He was a cute baby, I'll give him that. I was 17 and finishing my senior year of high school when he came into the world. I tried to be a good aunt. I babysat when Melissa needed help. I bought him little gifts with money I could barely afford to spend. I wanted to love him. I wanted to be part of his life. But Melissa had other plans. As Tyler grew, so did her resentment toward me. Every time I came home from college with good news about my grades, my internships, or my achievements, Melissa would find a way to redirect the conversation to Tyler. If I mentioned getting an A on a difficult exam, she'd interrupt to show everyone a crayon drawing Tyler had made. If I talked about being selected for a prestigious research program, she'd announce that Tyler had learned a new word. And my parents would pivot, immediately cooing over Tyler, making him the center of attention. Derek disappeared when Tyler was 2 years old. Just vanished one day and never came back. Melissa moved back into our parents' house full-time. By then, I was living in a small apartment near campus, working part-time and maintaining my scholarship with a near-perfect GPA. I came home for family dinners once a month, and every single time I felt more like an outsider in my own family. Tyler started showing signs of being spoiled around age 5. He threw tantrums when he didn't get his way. He demanded expensive toys and usually got them. He learned quickly that he could manipulate his mother and grandparents into giving him whatever he wanted. And when he started directing his entitled behavior toward me, no one stopped him. I remember one incident when Tyler was 6 years old. I had come home for Thanksgiving, and I left my laptop on the coffee table while I helped my mother in the kitchen. Tyler was playing a game on his tablet, and apparently, his tablet died. Instead of asking to charge it, he picked up my laptop and started banging on the keys, trying to make it play his game. When I came back and found him, the screen was cracked and several keys were broken. That laptop had cost me $800 money I had saved for months. Tyler, what did you do? I asked, trying to keep my voice calm even though I wanted to cry. I wanted to play my game, he said, as if that explained everything. Melissa came in from the other room. Rebecca, don't yell at him. He's just a kid. He broke my laptop, Melissa. I need this for school. She barely glanced at the damage. It was an accident. These things happen. It wasn't an accident. He was hitting it because it wouldn't do what he wanted. My mother intervened. Rebecca, your sister is right. He didn't mean to break it. You shouldn't have left it where he could reach it. I was 20 years old, a junior in college, and being told that my 6-year-old nephew breaking my laptop was my fault for leaving it in a common area of my own family's home. I took the laptop to be repaired. It cost $300. No one offered to help pay for it. I ate ramen for a month to make up for the expense. The incidents continued. When Tyler was 7, he went through my purse during a family dinner and stole $60. I caught him with the money in his hand. When I confronted him, he said his mom told him it was okay to take money from family if you needed it. Melissa's response, boys will be boys. He probably wanted to buy something. You should be more generous with family. I stopped bringing valuables to my parents' house. I stopped sharing my achievements with enthusiasm because I learned they would only be minimized. I started to shrink myself, making myself smaller and quieter, hoping that maybe if I didn't shine so brightly, my family would finally see me as someone worth loving. But the shrinking didn't work. The resentment from Melissa only grew. With each scholarship I won, each honor I received, each step forward in my academic career, I could see the bitterness in her eyes growing deeper. And she started to poison Tyler against me. My final semester of college arrived in January. I was working on my honors thesis, a comprehensive research project on sustainable marketing practices that I had poured my heart into for 9 months. I was also working 20 hours a week at a marketing firm as an intern, building experience for my resume. Despite the heavy workload, I maintained my 4.0 GPA. I was exhausted, but I was proud. Graduation was set for May 15th. In February, I announced to my family that I would be graduating summa cum laude. I had checked and double-checked with my advisor. My GPA, my thesis, my overall academic record meant I would graduate with highest honors. This was huge. Only 5% of students achieved this distinction. I was so excited when I drove to my parents' house for Sunday dinner to share the news. Mom, Dad, Melissa, I said as we sat around the table. Tyler was in the living room watching cartoons. I have something to tell you. I'm graduating summa cum laude in May. Highest honors. My mother looked up from her plate. That's nice, dear. My father nodded. Good for you. Melissa didn't even look at me. She was texting on her phone. I waited for more. For congratulations, for excitement, for any sign that this accomplishment mattered to them. Nothing came. The conversation moved on to Tyler's upcoming field trip to a pumpkin patch. I sat there, my good news hanging in the air like smoke, dissipating into nothing. But I refused to let them ruin this. I decided I would plan my own celebration. If they wouldn't make my graduation special, I would. I started saving money for a custom graduation cake. I found a local bakery that did beautiful work, and I ordered a 3-tier cake in my school colors, royal blue and gold. The baker showed me a design with a fondant graduation cap on top, my name written in gold lettering, and the words summa cum laude on the middle tier. It was perfect. It was expensive, $350, but I had saved for 2 months, setting aside $20 here, $30 there, skipping meals and entertainment to afford this one beautiful thing for myself. I put down a deposit of $175 6 weeks before graduation. The remaining balance would be due on pickup. Every time I felt tired or discouraged, I thought about that cake. It became a symbol, proof that I valued myself even if my family didn't. Those 6 weeks between ordering the cake and graduation were brutal. Tyler's behavior toward me escalated, and I started to notice patterns that suggested Melissa was coaching him. 3 weeks before graduation, we had a family dinner where I brought a printout of my thesis to show my parents. I had spent hundreds of hours on this research. It was nearly 100 pages of work I was genuinely proud of. I set it on the dining room table while I helped my mother bring food out from the kitchen. When I returned, Tyler was standing over the thesis with a cup of grape juice. He looked at me, smiled, and turned the cup over. Purple juice spread across the pages, soaking through my months of work. The ink ran. Pages stuck together. It was ruined. Tyler, I shouted. He shrugged. It was an accident. No, it wasn't. I saw you. You looked right at me and poured it. Melissa came in. Rebecca, don't be dramatic. He's 8 years old. It was an accident. He's 9 and it wasn't an accident. He did it on purpose. My mother sighed. Rebecca, we'll print another copy. It's fine. I don't have another copy here. That took me hours to print. The formatting was perfect. Then print it again tomorrow. Stop making such a fuss. I cleaned up the ruined pages with shaking hands. Tyler went back to playing video games. No punishment, no apology, nothing. I drove back to my apartment that night with sticky purple stained hands, and the understanding that Tyler was being encouraged to treat me this way. 2 weeks before graduation, I came home to find Tyler in my childhood bedroom. My parents kept a few boxes of my things in there, old photos and mementos. Tyler had gone through everything. Childhood photos were torn in half. My high school yearbook had pages ripped out. A stuffed animal I'd had since I was 5 had its head torn off. The destruction was deliberate and thorough. I found Melissa downstairs. Your son destroyed my things. He was just playing. Don't be so sensitive about stuff. They're just things. They're my things. My memories. He had no right to go through my room. It's not your room anymore, Rebecca. You don't even live here. That stung more than I wanted to admit. She was right in a technical sense. I had moved out. But it hurt to hear that I no longer had a place in this house while she and Tyler occupied it like it was their personal kingdom. 1 week before graduation, we had another family dinner. I was quieter than usual, still processing the destroyed belongings and ruined thesis. Tyler was in rare form, demanding attention, interrupting conversations, being generally obnoxious. At one point, he looked directly at me and said college is for people who can't get real jobs. The table went silent. I stared at him. What did you say? College is for people who can't get real jobs. My mom said so. I looked at Melissa. She didn't even have the grace to look embarrassed. She just shrugged. I might have said something like that. I was talking about how college isn't for everyone. You told him that people who go to college can't get real jobs. I said that some people use college as an excuse not to enter the real world. If the shoe fits Rebecca, my father cleared his throat. Let's not argue at the dinner table. My mother nodded. Rebecca, don't take it so personally. Tyler is just repeating what he hears. You know how children are. Yes, I knew how children are. They repeat what their parents teach them. And Melissa was teaching Tyler that education was worthless, that I was worthless, that my 4 years of hard work and sacrifice were just me avoiding the real world. I made a decision that night. I went home and I bought a small spy camera pen from an online retailer. It looked like a normal pen, but recorded video and audio. I also started keeping my phone recording in my pocket during family interactions. If my family was going to humiliate me, I wanted evidence. I wanted proof that I wasn't imagining the cruelty, the dismissal, the constant undermining. For the next 3 days leading up to graduation, I recorded everything. I caught Melissa on the phone with a friend, saying Rebecca thinks she's so special with her degree. She's still going to end up alone. At least I have Tyler. That's real success. I caught my mother and Melissa in the kitchen talking. I don't know why we're making such a big deal about this graduation, Melissa said. Lots of people graduate college. I know, honey, my mother replied. But you know how Rebecca is. She needs the attention. Tyler is doing so well in 3rd grade. He got a B+ on his spelling test. That's worth celebrating more than Rebecca's grades. Her grades are expected. Tyler actually had to work for his B+. You're absolutely right. He's such a bright boy. I stood in the hallway, phone in my pocket, recording every word, and felt something inside me crystallize. This wasn't love. This wasn't family. This was a system designed to keep me small while elevating Melissa and Tyler, and I was done participating in my own diminishment. May 15th arrived with perfect weather. The sun was shining, the temperature was comfortable, and I woke up in my small apartment feeling cautiously hopeful. This was my day. I had earned this. 4 years of work, 3 jobs countless, all-nighters, sacrifices, and struggles. Today I would walk across that stage and receive my diploma as a summa cum laude graduate. I got ready, carefully putting on my royal blue graduation gown, arranging my gold honor cords just right. I looked at myself in the mirror and felt proud. The ceremony was at 10 in the morning. My family had agreed to meet me at the venue. I arrived early, checked in, and found my seat among hundreds of other graduates. The energy was electric. People were taking photos, hugging friends, crying happy tears. I scanned the crowd for my family. I spotted my parents arriving at 15 minutes after the ceremony had started. They were scrolling on their phones as they found their seats. No sign of Melissa or Tyler. The ceremony proceeded. Names were called alphabetically. I waited nervously for the P's. Patterson Rebecca Marie. When my name was announced, the dean added graduating summa cum laude. There was a special cord around my neck identifying my achievement. I walked across the stage, shook hands, received my diploma. I looked out into the audience trying to catch my parents' eyes. They were both looking down at their phones. They didn't see me cross the stage. They didn't see the moment I had worked 4 years to achieve. After the ceremony ended, I found my parents in the parking lot. They were standing by their car waiting. Still, no Melissa or Tyler. "Did you see me walk?" I asked. "Of course," my father said, but his eyes didn't quite meet mine. "What took Melissa so long?" As if summoned by her name, Melissa's car pulled into the parking lot. It was now 11:20. The ceremony had ended at 11. She had missed the entire thing. Tyler climbed out of the car looking bored. Melissa followed, checking her phone. "Sorry we're late," Melissa said without looking up. Tyler had a play date we couldn't cancel. I felt the words hit me like a physical blow. "You missed my graduation for a play date." "It's not like graduation only happens once," Melissa said, then laughed at her own joke. "Oh wait, it does." "Oh well." Tyler looked at me. "Graduation is boring anyway." My parents said nothing. Not one word in my defense. Not one acknowledgement that missing my college graduation for a child's playdate was wildly inappropriate. We drove separately to my parents' house. I drove alone, hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. I had the cake in my trunk carefully secured. I had picked it up that morning, paid the remaining balance of $175. It was even more beautiful than the picture. 3 perfect tiers, intricate decorations, my name, in gold summa cum laude, written in elegant script. I arrived first at my parents' house. I carefully carried the cake inside and set it up on the dining room table. It was stunning. I lit the candles. I had brought 22 of them, one for each year. I stepped back and looked at it. This cake represented everything I had accomplished. I took several photos, posted one on social media with the caption, "When your family doesn't celebrate your achievements, you celebrate yourself." Summa cum laude graduate. I did this. My family arrived 15 minutes later. Tyler burst through the door and made a beeline for the dining room. He stopped when he saw the cake. His eyes went wide. "That's a big cake. I want the biggest piece." "We'll cut it in a few minutes, Tyler," I said. "Let me get some proper photos first." "The ceremony photos didn't turn out because you all were late." "I want it now," Tyler said, his voice rising to that whining pitch that usually got him whatever he wanted. Melissa walked in. "Rebecca, just give him a piece. Don't be difficult." "Melissa, I haven't even taken proper photos yet. This is my graduation cake. I'd like to enjoy it for a few minutes before we cut it." "It's just a cake." "Tyler is hungry. He can wait 5 minutes." That's when it happened. Tyler walked up to the table. I had my phone recording in my pocket. The spy pen was on the counter camera facing the table. Tyler looked directly at me. I saw the calculation in his eyes. He was 9 years old, but he knew exactly what he was doing. He reached down and grabbed the bottom tier of the cake with both hands. The cake was heavy, but he lifted it, and with what looked like all his strength, he threw it onto the kitchen floor. The sound was sickening. $350 of custom cake hit the tile floor and exploded. Frosting splattered across the floor, up the cabinet doors onto the wall. The fondant graduation cap flew across the room. The gold letters spelling my name scattered. The beautiful tears collapsed into a pile of ruined cake and broken dreams. Tyler looked at me with that same calculating expression and said, clearly, "Eat it off the ground, Aunt Rebecca. That's where failures belong." The room went silent. 3 seconds of absolute terrible silence. Then Melissa laughed. Not a shocked gasp. Not an embarrassed giggle. A genuine amused laugh. "Oh, Tyler, you're so dramatic," she said between laughs. "Rebecca, it's just a cake. Don't overreact." I couldn't move. I stared at $350 of cake, destroyed on the floor. I looked at Tyler, who was smirking. I looked at Melissa, who was still chuckling. I looked at my parents. My mother was already moving toward the kitchen. "Rebecca, honey, we can order pizza." It's not a big deal. My father nodded. These things happen with kids around. Something inside me snapped. But I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I felt eerily calm. I took out my phone and started taking pictures. Tyler's footprints in the frosting. The destroyed cake. The smirk on Tyler's face. Melissa's amused expression. My parents' complete lack of concern. I documented everything. You know what I said quietly? You're right. It's just a cake. I walked past them into the bathroom. I locked the door and checked my recordings. The spy pen had caught everything. Crystal clear video of Tyler deliberately throwing the cake. Perfect audio of his exact words. Eat it off the ground, Aunt Rebecca. That's where failures belong. Melissa's laughter. My parents' dismissal. All of it recorded and saved. I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror. I had spent 22 years trying to earn love from people who would never give it. 22 years shrinking myself, working harder, achieving more, hoping that eventually I would be good enough. But it was never about being good enough. It was about maintaining a hierarchy that required me to stay at the bottom. I smiled at my reflection. It was time to burn that hierarchy to the ground. I spent the next week in my apartment barely leaving except for work. I told my family I was busy with job applications. In reality, I was building a case. I transferred all my recordings to my laptop, organized them by date, created a detailed timeline with timestamps. I listened to 3 months of audio, watched hours of video, and transcribed the most damning conversations. What I discovered was so much worse than I had imagined. This wasn't just casual favoritism or normal sibling rivalry. This was systematic, deliberate emotional abuse. And it had been going on my entire life. I found a recording from 2 months earlier. I had left my phone recording on the kitchen counter during a family dinner while I was in the bathroom. Melissa and my mother were talking, thinking they were alone. Rebecca is making me look bad, Melissa said. Everyone keeps asking when I'm going back to school. Like it's any of their business. Honey, you have, Tyler, my mother replied. That's more important than any degree. You're a mother. That's a real accomplishment. I know, but Rebecca keeps bringing up her accomplishments. Her internship, her thesis, her honors. It's like she's rubbing it in my face that she finished college and I didn't. Maybe if we stop making such a big deal about her achievements, she'll stop showing off. If we don't give her the attention she's seeking, she'll realize that her degrees don't make her better than you. There it was. An explicit plan to minimize my achievements to protect Melissa's ego. I sat at my laptop listening to my mother's voice, suggesting they deliberately withhold recognition from me, and felt my hands shake with anger. I found another recording from 6 weeks before graduation. I had been visiting and had gone to the store. I left my phone recording in my purse in the living room. Melissa was in the next room with Tyler. I could hear them clearly. You know Aunt Rebecca thinks she's better than us because she goes to college, Melissa said to her son. Is she better than us? Tyler asked. He sounded young, confused. No, baby. She's just a show-off. People who really matter don't need to brag about school. Real success is about being a good person and having family. Should I be mean to her? There was a pause on the recording. Then Melissa's voice careful. I'm not saying be mean, but you don't have to act impressed by her either. You don't have to make her feel special. She gets enough of that from her teachers and her fancy college friends. I played this recording 3 times listening to Melissa plant seeds of disrespect in her 9-year-old son's mind. She wasn't directly telling him to bully me, but she was absolutely giving him permission to disrespect me. She was teaching him that my achievements were worthless, that I was showing off, that I didn't deserve admiration. And Tyler, being a child who wanted his mother's approval, had internalized that message. I found more evidence of this coaching. Another recording, another conversation between Melissa and Tyler. Mom, why does Grandma always want to talk about Aunt Rebecca's grades? Tyler asked. Because Grandma doesn't understand that grades aren't everything. Your aunt thinks she's so smart, but she doesn't have what really matters. She doesn't have a family. She doesn't have a child like I have you. She's going to grow up to be a lonely old lady with nothing but her degrees to keep her company. This was what Melissa was teaching Tyler. That I was worthy of pity and contempt. that my education was a poor substitute for a real life, that I was destined to be alone and miserable. And she was teaching him this because my success made her feel inadequate. I found recordings of my parents that were equally damning. A conversation between my mother and father in their bedroom caught on my phone that I had accidentally left in the upstairs hallway. "Do you think we should give Rebecca money for graduation?" my father asked. "I suppose we should." We gave Melissa $2,000 for her high school graduation. $2,000 seems like a lot for Rebecca, though. She already got a free education with her scholarships. She doesn't really need it. You're right. And Tyler's birthday is coming up. Melissa mentioned he wants that gaming system. How much is that? About $500. Well, that seems more worthwhile than giving Rebecca money she doesn't need. Let's get the gaming system for Tyler. I checked my bank account records. My parents had promised me $2,000 for graduation in a text message I still had saved. They never sent the money. I looked at social media. 1 week after my graduation, Melissa posted photos of Tyler with a brand new gaming system, top of the line, probably $600. The caption read, "Best grandparents ever spoiling their favorite grandson." I began calculating the financial disparity over the years. I created a spreadsheet. Melissa's college tuition before she dropped out approximately $43,000. Melissa's car at $15,000. I got a used car and paid for half of it myself. Melissa's wedding to Derek, which my parents largely funded, $28,000. Tyler's expenses that my parents covered over 9 years, everything from clothes to toys to medical bills that Melissa couldn't afford. I estimated conservatively at $30,000. Total spent on Melissa and Tyler approximately $116,000. Money spent on me over 22 years, my partial car at 16, for which I contributed $1,500 of the $3,000 cost. Total from my parents, $1,500. The disparity was staggering. Over $114,000 difference. But it wasn't just about money. I found evidence of social sabotage. I found Facebook messages that Melissa had sent from my parents' computer. She had forgotten to log out during a visit. I had been using their computer to print something and saw the messages still open. Melissa had sent messages to my Aunt Carol, my cousin Jenny, and several other relatives. To Aunt Carol, "Hey, just wanted to give you a heads up that Rebecca's graduation ceremony is going to be really long and boring. She's been making such a big deal about it, but it's just a college graduation. Lots of people graduate. You definitely don't need to feel obligated to go if you have other things to do." To cousin Jenny, "I know Rebecca invited you to her graduation, but honestly, you're not going to miss anything if you don't go. The ceremony is like 3 hours long and you'll barely even see her walk across the stage. Save yourself the trouble. We can all celebrate with her later." There was no later celebration. I had sent invitations to 15 extended family members. 0 attended. I thought they were busy or not interested, or that maybe college graduations just weren't a big deal. Now I knew. Melissa had actively discouraged them from attending. She had sabotaged my graduation before it even happened. I spent hours going through every piece of evidence. I organized it all into folders. Video clips of Tyler being cruel with Melissa encouraging him. Audio of Melissa coaching Tyler to disrespect me. Recordings of my parents discussing how to minimize my achievements. Screenshots of the financial disparity. Screenshots of the Facebook messages sabotaging my graduation attendance. I created a video compilation of the worst moments. The final video was 18 minutes long. It was devastating. I also included something that hurt more than anything else. I found my childhood journals in one of the boxes Tyler had destroyed. Most were torn, but I found entries that told the story of a little girl desperate for her parents' love. I scanned pages where 7-year-old me wrote, "I got all A's today. Maybe now mommy will be proud." And 10-year-old me writing Melissa got a C on her test and mom took her for ice cream. "I got all A's again. Mom said that's what I'm supposed to do." And 14-year-old me writing, "I think something is wrong with me. No matter what I do, it's never enough." I included photos of those journal pages in my presentation. I wanted my family to see what they had done to a child. What they had been doing for over 2 decades. Now I knew the full scope of the damage. The question was, what would I do with this information? Think about this for a second. Have you ever collected evidence of how your family really treated you? Have you ever had that moment where you realized it wasn't all in your head, that the favoritism was real and documented? Drop a comment if you've been there. And make sure you're subscribed, because what I did with this evidence is going to shock you. The revenge was so precisely calculated that even I'm still amazed I pulled it off. I took 3 days off from work. I told my boss I needed time to recover from graduation festivities. In reality, I was planning the most important confrontation of my life. This needed to be done right. It needed to be legal, documented, and devastating. I wasn't going to lose my temper and scream at them. I was going to present them with undeniable evidence of their behavior and demand accountability. First, I called Monica. She was a friend from college now in her first year of law school. We had stayed close and she knew bits and pieces of my family situation. I invited her to my apartment and showed her everything. We sat on my couch for 3 hours while she reviewed the recordings, the timeline, the financial records. "Rebecca, this is damning," Monica said quietly. "This is a clear pattern of emotional abuse and financial manipulation. Is it legal that I recorded them? You're in a one-party consent state. As long as you're present during the conversation or part of the interaction, it's completely legal to record. You didn't bug their house or secretly record private conversations you weren't part of. You're fine legally." "Good. What are you planning to do with this?" "I want them to face consequences. Real ones. I want them to see what they've done." Monica helped me organize everything into a presentation format. We created a PowerPoint that walked through the evidence chronologically. We included the video clips, the audio recordings, the financial breakdown, and the social sabotage screenshots. The title slide read, "The Truth About Family Favoritism, a Case Study." It looked professional, almost clinical. That was intentional. I wanted this to look serious, not like an emotional outburst. Next, I scheduled a family meeting. I sent a group text to my parents, Melissa, and yes, I specifically said Tyler needed to be there too. The message read, "Family dinner at my apartment this Saturday at 6 p.m. Important announcement about my future. Everyone must attend." Melissa responded, "Can't Tyler just stay with mom and dad?" I replied, "No. Tyler needs to be there. This involves him too." My parents agreed, probably curious about what announcement I would make. They likely assumed I was moving away for a job or going to graduate school. Melissa complained, but eventually agreed to bring Tyler. I spent the week preparing my apartment. I connected my laptop to my TV, so the presentation would display on a large screen. I created 3 copies of all the evidence on USB drives. One for my records, one to give to my family, one as backup. I wanted them to have the evidence so they couldn't later claim I had made it up or exaggerated. I also prepared a nuclear option. If my family refused to acknowledge the truth or became defensive and dismissive, I had a backup plan. I created a draft Facebook post with the video of Tyler destroying my cake. The caption was ready. "This is what happened at my college graduation. This is how my family celebrates achievements. This is why I'm going no contact with toxic people, even if they're blood relatives." I had all my extended family members tagged. My finger would hover over the post button, ready to share if they forced my hand. I asked Monica and my best friend Diana to attend as witnesses. "I need people there who aren't family," I explained. "I need objective observers who can confirm I'm not exaggerating or being dramatic." Both agreed. Diana hugged me. "I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. This is going to be hard, but you deserve to be heard." I wrote out my speech and practiced it 5 times. I wanted to be clear, calm, and factual. I outlined my main points: the pattern of favoritism, the financial disparity, the coaching of Tyler to disrespect me, the destroyed cake as the final straw, and my demands for change. I wrote out specific demands: public apologies therapy for Tyler family, therapy for everyone, financial reimbursement, and equal treatment going forward. If these demands weren't met, I would go no contact. I talked to my therapist, Dr. Chen, whom I had been seeing for 6 months, to work through family issues. "You're doing the right thing," she assured me. "Setting boundaries is healthy. Demanding respect is not selfish, it's necessary. What if they never speak to me again? Then you'll know they never really valued you as a person. And painful as that is, you'll be free to build a life with people who do value you. Saturday approached. I was nervous, but determined. At 5:30, Monica and Diana arrived. We did a tech check to make sure the laptop and TV connection worked. The presentation loaded perfectly. Diana squeezed my hand. "You've got this." At exactly 6 p.m., there was a knock on my door. This was it. I took a deep breath and opened the door to face my family. My parents entered first. My mother was carrying a store-bought pie, probably from the grocery store bakery. My father looked annoyed, checking his watch. "This better be quick, Rebecca. There's a game on at 7. "It'll take as long as it takes," I said evenly. Melissa came in next with Tyler. Tyler immediately ran to my bookshelf and started pulling books out, roughly looking at the covers and tossing them aside. "Tyler, please don't touch those," I said. Melissa waved her hand dismissively. "He's just looking. Relax." I bit back my immediate response. I needed to stay calm. "Everyone, please sit down. I'd like to introduce my friends. This is Monica and Diana. They're here as witnesses to this conversation." My mother looked confused. "Witnesses? That's an odd thing to say. Please just sit." I gestured to the couch and chairs I had arranged facing the TV. They sat looking puzzled. Tyler squirmed in his seat. Monica and Diana stood near the wall observing silently. I stood in front of the TV holding the remote control. My hands were shaking slightly, but my voice was steady. "Thank you all for coming," I began. "I know you're wondering why I called this meeting." My father shifted impatiently. "You said you had an announcement about your future." "I do. I'm announcing that things are going to change in this family. Specifically how this family treats me." Melissa rolled her eyes dramatically. "Oh great, here we go. Another Rebecca speech about how hard she works and how unappreciated she is. Actually, Melissa, this is about how this family has systematically favored you over me for my entire life. And I have proof." My mother's expression shifted to concern. "Rebecca, sweetheart, don't start with this. We're all tired. I'll start wherever I want, Mom. For once, you're all going to sit here and listen to me." I turned on the TV with a remote. The title slide appeared, "The Truth About Family Favoritism, a Case Study." The room went quiet. Melissa's smirk faded slightly. "What is this?" she asked. "This is a presentation I've prepared with evidence. You're going to watch all of it." My father started to stand. "We don't have time for this nonsense." Monica spoke up from her position by the wall. "Actually, Mr. Patterson, you do have time. I'm Rebecca's legal counsel, and I strongly advise you to watch this presentation in its entirety." The word legal made him freeze. He sat back down slowly. "Legal counsel? Yes. Now please watch." I clicked to the next slide. A chart appeared showing the financial breakdown. $116,000 spent on Melissa and Tyler. $1,500 spent on me. The numbers were stark undeniable. My mother gasped. "Where did you get these numbers?" "I calculated them based on information you've shared over the years." "Are they inaccurate? Did you not pay $43,000 for Melissa's college? Did you not buy her a $15,000 car? Did you not fund her $28,000 wedding?" Silence. "That's what I thought," I continued. "The numbers are accurate. And this is just the financial favoritism. It gets worse." I clicked to the next slide. A timeline of specific incidents. My science fair win versus Melissa's volleyball game. My scholarship announcement versus Tyler's bike riding. My graduation versus Tyler's spelling test. Each incident was dated and described in detail. Melissa crossed her arms. "This is ridiculous. You're keeping score like we're children." "Yes, Melissa. I'm keeping score. Because someone needed to document the pattern. Someone needed to prove that I'm not imagining things, that I'm not being overly sensitive, that this favoritism is real and has been happening for decades." I clicked to the next slide. A photo of my graduation cake, beautiful and intact. "Do you all remember this cake?" Tyler looked down at his shoes. My mother shifted uncomfortably. "Let me refresh your memories." I clicked play on the video. The room watched in silence as the spy pen footage played on the large TV screen. Tyler approaching the cake. Tyler grabbing it with both hands. Tyler throwing it to the floor with surprising force. The cake exploding across the tile. And then crystal clear audio. Eat it off the ground, Aunt Rebecca. That's where failures belong. Then Melissa's laugh. Her actual laugh. Oh, Tyler, you're so dramatic. Rebecca, it's just a cake. Don't overreact. My mother's voice. We can order pizza. It's not a big deal. My father's voice. These things happen with kids around. When the video ended, no one spoke. My mother looked pale. My father wouldn't meet my eyes. Melissa's face had gone from smug to panicked. Tyler was crying silently. That cake cost $350, I said quietly. I saved for 2 months to afford it. It was supposed to celebrate my college graduation with highest honors. Instead, I watched a 9-year-old destroy it while his mother laughed, and my parents dismissed it as no big deal. Rebecca, you were recording us, my mother finally asked. Yes, Mom. I was. Because I knew you would all gaslight me later. I knew you'd minimize it, make excuses, tell me I was overreacting. So I recorded it. And it's completely legal in this state. Monica confirmed it. My father looked at Monica, who nodded. He turned to me. This is an invasion of privacy. No, Dad. This is documentation of abuse. And that's not even the worst part. I clicked to the next slide. A transcript of Melissa coaching Tyler to be mean to me. I played the audio recording. Melissa's voice filled the room. You know Aunt Rebecca thinks she's better than us because she goes to college. Tyler's young voice. Should I be mean to her? Melissa's response, I'm not saying be mean, but you don't have to act impressed by her either. Melissa stood up. You took that out of context. Really, let's hear more context then. I played another recording. Melissa telling Tyler I was going to end up a lonely old cat lady. Melissa telling Tyler that grades don't matter. Melissa systematically teaching her son to view me with contempt. With each recording, Melissa's face crumbled more. My parents looked increasingly uncomfortable. Tyler was sobbing, now hands over his face. I played the recording of my mother and Melissa agreeing to stop making a big deal about my achievements. I played the recording of my parents deciding to give Tyler the gaming system instead of giving me my promised graduation money. I showed the screenshots of Melissa's Facebook messages telling relatives not to come to my graduation. For years, I thought something was wrong with me. I said, my voice cracking slightly. I thought maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe I was too sensitive. Maybe I was imagining the favoritism. But I wasn't imagining it. It was real. It has been real my entire life. I clicked to the next slide, showing pages from my childhood journals. 7-year-old me hoping my grades would make my mom proud. 10-year-old me wondering why Melissa's C got celebrated while my A's were ignored. 14-year-old me thinking something was wrong with her. My mother started crying. Rebecca, we didn't mean to hurt you. But you did hurt me. Repeatedly. For 22 years. And it culminated in a 9-year-old child who had been coached by his mother to view me with contempt, throwing my graduation cake on the floor and telling me to eat it off the ground while you all dismissed it as no big deal. I clicked to my final slide. My demands listed clearly: 1, public acknowledgement and apology from Melissa and my parents. 2, Tyler enters therapy to learn respect and empathy. 3, financial reimbursement for the destroyed cake and broken promises. 4, family therapy for everyone. 5, equal treatment going forward. If these demands are not met, I go no contact. The room was dead silent except for the sound of Tyler crying. Then Tyler spoke through his tears. I'm sorry, Aunt Rebecca. Mom told me you didn't like me. She said you wished I was never born. The room exploded. My mother turned to Melissa. Please tell me he's lying. Melissa couldn't speak. She just shook her head, tears streaming down her face. My father's voice was hard. Did you really tell Tyler that Rebecca wishes he was never born? Melissa finally broke sobbing. I was upset. Rebecca has everything. She's smart, successful, everyone loves her. And I'm just the dropout single mom. Nobody cares what I do. So you took your insecurity out on me, I asked. By poisoning your own son against me. By sabotaging my graduation. By celebrating when he destroyed something precious to me. You don't understand what it's like, Melissa cried. Every family gathering, it's Rebecca did this, Rebecca achieved that, nobody cares about me. Maybe because you haven't done anything except tear me down to make yourself feel better. My mother tried to intervene. Girls, please. No, Mom, I said firmly. This isn't a girls fighting situation. This is years of systematic emotional abuse. Monica, would you like to add anything? Monica stepped forward. Mrs. Patterson. Mr. Patterson, the evidence here is extensive and clear. Melissa has been coaching Tyler to bully Rebecca. You have both enabled this behavior through unequal treatment and consistent dismissal of Rebecca's feelings and achievements. This meets the definition of emotional abuse and scapegoating within a family system. My father got defensive. We did our best. Diana spoke up. Did you, though? Because from where I'm standing, you destroyed one daughter to prop up the other. I pulled up the Facebook message screenshots. Melissa actively discouraged our relatives from attending my graduation. I invited 15 people. 0 came. I thought they just weren't interested. Now I know why. My mother looked at the screenshots on the screen and gasped. Melissa, why would you do this? Melissa was crying too hard to answer immediately. Finally, she choked out. Because I was jealous. Okay, I'm jealous that she finished college and I didn't. I'm jealous that she has opportunities and I'm stuck. I'm jealous that she's going somewhere and I'm going nowhere. Your jealousy doesn't excuse your behavior, I said coldly. You had choices. You could have gone back to school. You could have been happy for me. You could have been a good sister. Tyler was still crying. I didn't want to be mean, Aunt Rebecca. Mom said you'd be proud of me if I stood up to you. Even my father looked angry at Melissa now. You told Tyler that Rebecca would be proud if he disrespected her. Melissa had no defense left. The truth was out in the open, recorded and undeniable. I handed printed copies of my demands to each adult. You have 1 week to decide. Either you meet these conditions, or I post everything online and go no contact. My mother looked panicked. 1 week, Rebecca, these are serious demands. And I had 22 years of neglect. 1 week is generous. What if we can't afford therapy? Melissa asked weakly. Then you figure it out. I figured out how to pay for college. You can figure out how to pay for the damage you've caused. The room sat in stunned silence. I looked at each of them. I need you all to leave now. Take the printed demands. Contact me in 1 week with your decision. My father stood slowly. And if we don't agree, then I post the video of Tyler destroying my cake, all the audio recordings, the financial breakdown, everything. And I never speak to any of you again. My mother's voice was small. You wouldn't. Try me, Mom. I've spent my whole life being the bigger person, staying quiet, accepting scraps. I'm done. This is your chance to make it right. Don't waste it. Monica handed each of them a business card. If you have questions about the legal aspects of anything discussed today, you can contact me. But I strongly advise you to take Rebecca's demands seriously. Tyler hugged me on his way out, still crying. I'm really sorry, he whispered. I hugged him back gently. I know, buddy. But sorry isn't enough. You have to change. Melissa couldn't look at me as she ushered Tyler out the door. My parents left without another word. The door closed behind them. I collapsed onto my couch and finally let myself cry. Diana and Monica sat on either side of me, each taking a hand. You did it, Diana said softly. You stood up for yourself. Why doesn't it feel good? I asked through tears. Because you love them, Monica said. Despite everything, you still love them. That's what makes this so hard. I cried for 20 minutes, releasing years of pain and frustration. When I finally stopped, I dried my eyes and looked at Monica. What are the chances they agree to my terms? Monica considered. Honestly, 50-50. Some families can't handle the truth. But you've given them irrefutable evidence. If they have any capacity for self-reflection, they'll agree. I nodded slowly. Then I need to prepare for both outcomes. Diana squeezed my hand. Whatever happens, you have us. You have people who love you and see your worth. That night, I lay in bed, unable to sleep, replaying the confrontation in my mind. I had done it. I had spoken my truth. Now I could only wait to see if my family had the courage to change. The next 7 days felt like 7 years. I went to work Monday morning and tried to focus, but my mind kept drifting to the confrontation. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart raced, thinking it might be my family. But Monday passed with no messages from any of them. Tuesday brought an unexpected phone call. My phone showed Aunt Carol's number. I hesitated before answering. "Hello. Rebecca, your mother called me yesterday. She was crying. She told me what happened at your apartment." My stomach dropped. "I'm sure she gave you her version." "She did. She said you ambushed them with recordings and accused them of being terrible parents. But then I asked her directly about the cake incident and the recordings you have. I asked her if Tyler really said those words to you. She couldn't deny it." I held my breath. "Rebecca, I want you to know I believe you. I've watched your family dynamic for years and always felt something was off. The way they celebrated Melissa's mediocrity while taking your excellence for granted. I should have said something sooner." Tears sprang to my eyes. "Really, you believe me?" "Completely. Your mother and Melissa have always babied Tyler and overlooked you. Whatever you decide to do, I support you. You deserve so much better than how they've treated you." We talked for 40 minutes. Aunt Carol shared stories I had never heard, observations she had made over the years about the favoritism. She told me she had actually wanted to attend my graduation but received Melissa's message discouraging her. She admitted she should have questioned it but didn't want to cause family drama. "I regret that now," she said. "I should have been there for you." Wednesday brought another unexpected ally. My grandmother, Ruth, my father's mother, called me at work. I stepped outside to take the call. "Grandma, your father told me you're causing problems in the family." Here it comes, I thought. Another person taking their side. But Ruth continued, "So I asked him to send me the evidence you showed them. He refused. That told me everything I needed to know." "Grandma, sweetheart, I raised your father better than this. The fact that he's defending Melissa's behavior and dismissing your legitimate grievances is shameful. I want you to send me everything. I want to see exactly what happened." I sent her the videos and audio files. She called me back an hour later. "I just watched that video of Tyler destroying your cake, and I listened to Melissa coaching him. Rebecca, this is appalling. That child has been taught to be cruel and your parents have enabled it." Ruth shared her own story. She had been the scapegoat in her family growing up. Her older sister could do no wrong while Ruth was constantly criticized and compared. "I eventually cut them off," she said. "Best decision I ever made." Toxic is toxic, even if it's family. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is walk away. Thursday was my breaking point emotionally. I was at work when I received a Facebook message from my cousin Jenny. "I saw the messages Melissa sent before your graduation. I had no idea she told us not to come. Rebecca, I'm so sorry I missed it. I would have been there if I'd known you actually wanted us there." I explained that I absolutely wanted her there. I had sent personal invitations to everyone. Jenny asked if she could see the video. I hesitated. Sharing it felt like a violation of my own boundary, but I also needed people to understand what had really happened. I sent her the link to a private video upload. She watched it and called me immediately. "Oh my God, Rebecca! Tyler is completely out of control." And Melissa laughed. "Your mom actually said it wasn't a big deal. This is so much worse than what your mom told everyone." Jenny shared the video with 2 other cousins who had been asking questions about the family drama. Suddenly, I had allies in the extended family. People were reaching out to say they believed me, they had seen the favoritism for years, they were sorry they hadn't spoken up sooner. Friday arrived. 3 days left until my 1-week deadline. Still no word from my parents or Melissa. I started preparing my social media post. I edited the cake video to include captions explaining the context. I wrote a detailed explanation of the family dynamics. My finger hovered over the post button multiple times. Monica texted me, "Don't post yet. Give them the full week. They might be processing." I agreed, but my anxiety was eating me alive. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep properly. I kept replaying the confrontation, wondering if I had been too harsh, if I should have handled it differently. Saturday, I had an emergency therapy session with Dr. Chen. How are you holding up? She asked. I feel guilty. Like maybe I went too far. I hurt them. Why do you feel guilty for telling the truth? Because I exposed them. I made them face things they didn't want to face. I used Tyler's words against them. Dr. Chen leaned forward. Rebecca, they hurt you for 22 years. Where's the guilt about that? Why are you taking responsibility for their shame when they should be feeling ashamed of their behavior? This perspective helped, but the guilt lingered. What if they never speak to me again? Would that really be worse than continuing as things were? You've been slowly dying inside trying to earn love from people who withheld it. If they choose not to change, you'll finally be free to find people who actually value you. Sunday, I tried to distract myself with household chores. 2 days until the deadline. At 3 in the afternoon, my phone buzzed with a text from Tyler. My heart raced as I opened it. Aunt Rebecca, I talked to the school counselor. She said what I did was bullying. I didn't know that's what it was called. I thought I was just being strong, like Mom said. I'm really, really sorry. I start therapy next week. Mom set it up. I stared at the message for a long time. This was the first concrete sign that something might change. I responded, I'm proud of you for recognizing it, Tyler. Therapy will help. It takes courage to admit when we've done something wrong. He wrote back immediately. Will you ever forgive me? If you really change and grow, yes. But it will take time. Trust has to be rebuilt. Okay, I understand. I'm going to try really hard. This exchange gave me a tiny spark of hope. At least Tyler seemed to be learning. But what about the adults? Monday morning, one day until the deadline. I prepared for both outcomes. If they agreed to my terms, I would schedule the first family therapy session and draft a payment plan for the reimbursements. If they refused, I would post everything and block them all. Diana called to check on me. How are you doing? Terrified. I don't know what's going to happen. Whatever happens, you have a support system. You have Monica, me, your aunt, your grandmother, your cousins. You're not alone. Monica sent a similar message of support. Aunt Carol sent flowers to my apartment with a card that read, Proud of your courage. Love, Aunt Carol. Tuesday arrived. The deadline day. I woke up with a knot in my stomach. I checked my phone obsessively. Nothing at 9 a.m. Nothing at noon. By 3 p.m., I started accepting that they weren't going to respond. They were going to ignore my demands and hope I wouldn't follow through on my threat. I opened Facebook and navigated to my draft post. The video was uploaded and ready. The caption was written. All I had to do was click post and tag everyone. My finger hovered over the button. At 5:47 p.m., my phone rang. Mom's number. My hand shook as I answered. Hello? Rebecca. My mother's voice sounded strained. We need to talk. Can you come to the house? You have 13 minutes until my deadline expires. Talk now, or I post everything. Please, come to the house. We're all here. We've made decisions. All of you, Melissa, too. Yes. Everyone, please come. This isn't a conversation for the phone. My heart was pounding. I'll be there in 20 minutes. If this is a trap or an attempt to gang up on me, I will immediately post everything. It's not a trap. I promise. We really need to talk in person. I grabbed my keys and texted Monica, going to parents' house. They say they've made decisions. If you don't hear from me in an hour, assume it went badly. She responded immediately, I'm nearby. Call if you need me. I drove to my parents' house with my heart in my throat alternating between hope and dread. This was it. The moment that would determine whether I still had a family or whether I would be walking away forever. I pulled into my parents' driveway at 6:15 p.m. and sat in my car for a moment, gathering my courage. Through the living room window, I could see movement inside. Everyone was really there. I texted Monica again, I'm here. Wish me luck. She responded, You don't need luck. You have truth on your side. I walked to the front door and used my old key to let myself in. The scene in the living room stopped me in my tracks. My parents sat close together on the couch, both looking like they'd been crying for days. Melissa sat in the armchair, her eyes red and swollen. Tyler sat on the floor near his mother, looking small and scared. The TV was off. No one was looking at their phones. They were just waiting. "I'm here," I said, staying near the door. "You asked me to come. So talk." My mother stood up slowly. Her hands were shaking. She was holding a piece of paper. "Rebecca, I want to start by reading something I wrote. I've been working on this for 3 days." She cleared her throat and began reading, her voice wavering. "Dear Rebecca, I have failed you as a mother. I see that now, and I am deeply ashamed. I allowed my favoritism toward Melissa to blind me to your needs, your achievements, and your pain. I made excuses for behavior I should have stopped years ago. I enabled your sister's jealousy and your nephew's cruelty. I dismissed your feelings and minimized your accomplishments. There is no excuse for any of this. I am truly deeply sorry for every time I made you feel invisible, for every time I chose Melissa's comfort over your well-being, for every time I failed to protect you from hurt." Her voice broke, but she continued. "I cannot undo the past 22 years. I cannot give you back the childhood you deserved, where both my daughters were loved equally. But I can commit to change starting today. I have scheduled our first family therapy session for next Thursday at 4 p.m. I have also written a check for $3,700, which covers the cost of your destroyed graduation cake, the $2,000 we promised you for graduation, and $500 in interest for our broken promises. It's not enough, but it's a start." She walked over and handed me an envelope. I opened it with trembling hands. There was an actual check inside made out to me for $3,700, signed by both my parents. My father stood up next. He looked older than I remembered, tired. "Rebecca, I owe you an apology too. I dismissed your feelings because dealing with conflict was uncomfortable for me. I took the easy route by siding with Melissa and your mother. That was cowardly. I taught you that your feelings didn't matter as much as keeping the peace. I taught you that you had to earn love through achievement, while Melissa received love unconditionally. I was wrong. I'm committed to doing better, to being the father you deserved all along." Melissa stood up next. She looked broken. "Becca," she started using the childhood nickname she hadn't used in years. "I've been horrible to you. I was so consumed by my own jealousy and insecurity that I became cruel. I poisoned my own son against you. I sabotaged your graduation. I celebrated when you were hurt. I tore you down at every opportunity to make myself feel better. And I am so ashamed." She took a step toward me, tears streaming down her face. "I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even know if I deserve the chance to make this right. But I want you to know that I've enrolled in community college. I start classes in the fall. I'm going back to finish my degree because I realized you were right. Education does matter. And more importantly, I want Tyler to see me succeed instead of tearing others down. I want to model growth instead of bitterness." I stood frozen, unable to process what I was hearing. Tyler came forward last. He was holding a piece of paper covered in his child's handwriting. He read from it carefully. "Aunt Rebecca, I'm 9, and I know I messed up really bad. I hurt you on a day that was supposed to be special. I said mean things because I thought it would make my mom happy, but it was wrong. What I did was bullying. I'm going to therapy every week to learn how to be better. I'm learning about empathy and respect. I hope you can forgive me someday. I love you, and I'm sorry." The room was silent except for quiet crying. My own tears were falling now, and I couldn't stop them. "I need to know this is real," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Not just words because I threatened to expose you publicly." My mother stepped forward. "It's real, sweetheart." Seeing all that evidence, hearing Tyler's first therapy intake appointment where he talked about what he'd learned from me and Melissa, talking to your Aunt Carol, who called and gave me an earful about enabling abuse, we realized how badly we failed you. Carol told me I was raising Tyler to be a spoiled brat who would grow up to be a terrible person. She was right. My father added, "Your grandmother called me too. She told me I was perpetuating the same pattern that made her childhood miserable. She said if I didn't fix this, she would never speak to me again." That got through to me. Melissa spoke again. "I saw a therapist this week. An emergency appointment. I showed her the recordings you played. She helped me see how my insecurity turned into abuse. She used that word, abuse. I didn't want to believe it, but she made me see it. I've been abusing you emotionally for years. I looked at each of them, searching for signs of manipulation or insincerity. All I saw was genuine remorse and shame. I need boundaries, I said firmly. Clear ones. This can't just be apologies and then back to normal. Anything my mother said quickly. Whatever you need. I laid out my rules clearly. Family therapy is mandatory. No exceptions. If anyone misses a session without a legitimate emergency, I walk away. Tyler's behavior will be monitored carefully. If the bullying continues, there will be immediate consequences. From now on, financial gifts and support must be equal between Melissa and me. My achievements will be celebrated, not minimized or overshadowed. And if any of these boundaries are violated, if anyone falls back into the old patterns, I'm done. Permanently. No second chances. Everyone nodded. My father said, "We agree to all of it." Tyler stood up and walked over to me hesitantly. "Can I hug you, Aunt Rebecca?" I knelt down to his level and opened my arms. He crashed into me sobbing. "Thank you for giving me another chance. I'm going to be so much better. I promise." I hugged him tightly. "We all deserve chances to grow and change, buddy. I believe you can do better." Melissa approached carefully. "Can I hug you too?" I stood up and looked at her. She looked genuinely broken, genuinely sorry. I nodded. We embraced, both of us crying. She whispered in my ear, "I'll spend the rest of my life making this up to you. I'm so sorry for everything. Just be a good sister from now on," I whispered back. "That's all I ask. Be someone I can trust." My parents came over next. We had a group hug, all of us crying. My mother kept repeating, "I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry." My father just held on tight, his shoulders shaking with sobs. We ordered Chinese food for dinner and ate together. For the first time in as long as I could remember, the conversation was genuine. People asked me about my job, my thesis, my future plans, and actually listened to my answers. Melissa shared her plan to go back to school and major in early childhood education. Tyler talked about what he was learning in therapy. My parents talked about the family therapy intake appointment they'd scheduled. Later that night as I drove home, I called Monica. "How did it go?" she asked immediately. "They actually changed. Or at least they're starting to. They apologized, they gave me the money, they've set up therapy. Monica, I think this might actually work." "I'm so glad, Rebecca. You deserve that accountability. I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself." I called Diana next and told her everything. "So, what happens now?" she asked. "Now I heal. I hold them accountable to their promises. I watch to make sure the changes are real and lasting. And I start building the relationship with my family that I should have had all along." That night, I sat on my bed with my journal and wrote, "Today I learned that sometimes standing up for yourself can lead to real change. It won't be easy. Trust takes a long time to rebuild. But for the first time in my life, I have hope that my family can become what they should have been all along." 3 months passed. 3 months of weekly family therapy sessions, individual therapy for Tyler, and careful rebuilding of trust. The changes weren't perfect. There were setbacks. There were moments when old patterns tried to resurface. But each time, someone would catch it and call it out, and we'd work through it together. The family therapist, Dr. Martinez, was incredible. She didn't let anyone make excuses. In our second session, when my mother tried to justify past behavior by saying she was tired and overwhelmed, Dr. Martinez stopped her immediately. "Mrs. Patterson, we're not here to justify the past. We're here to understand it so we can change the future. Rebecca's feelings are valid regardless of how tired you were." Tyler's transformation was the most visible. His individual therapist worked with him on empathy, respect, and understanding consequences. I watched him slowly change from an entitled, cruel child into someone who was learning to consider other people's feelings. He started asking permission before touching my things. He apologized when he interrupted someone. He showed genuine interest when I talked about my work. One evening in July, about 6 weeks after the confrontation, Tyler came to my apartment with Melissa. He was carrying a poster board. "Aunt Rebecca, I made something for you in therapy," he said shyly. He showed me the poster. It was titled My Apology Project. On it, he had written out every mean thing he could remember saying or doing to me, with a written apology for each one. At the bottom, he had drawn a picture of the two of us holding hands with a rainbow over our heads. It was childish but sincere. "This is beautiful, Tyler," I said, genuinely moved. "Thank you for working so hard on this." My therapist said, "Making amends means showing you changed, not just saying sorry. So I'm going to keep showing you." Melissa teared up watching the exchange. After Tyler went to play with some toys I kept at my apartment for his visits, Melissa and I sat on the couch. "He's really changing," she said, "and so am I. I started my classes last week. It's hard being the oldest student in freshman courses, but I'm doing it." "I'm proud of you, Mel," I said, using my own old nickname for her. "I talked about you in my therapy session this week," she admitted, "about how my jealousy destroyed our relationship. My therapist asked me when I started feeling jealous, and I realized it was way back when we were kids. When you started getting better grades than me, I felt like you were making me look bad. Instead of working harder, I just resented you. That resentment grew for years until it turned into something ugly. Why didn't you ever talk to me about it? Because talking about it would mean admitting I was jealous. It was easier to just make you the villain in my head, to tell myself you were showing off, that you thought you were better than me. I created this narrative where you were the bad guy, so I didn't have to face my own insecurities. I never thought I was better than you," I said quietly. "I just wanted to be seen. I wanted to matter. You always mattered. I just couldn't let myself see it because it made me feel worse about myself." She wiped her eyes. "I'm working on that now. On finding worth in myself that isn't dependent on comparing myself to you. My parents were changing too, though it was harder for them to break decades of ingrained patterns. In one family therapy session, my mother started praising Tyler for a C on a math test. I saw her catch herself mid-sentence glance at Dr. Martinez, and then add, "But you know what Tyler a C means? You need to work harder. Rebecca, how's your project at work going?" It wasn't perfect, but it was effort. That's what mattered. The financial reimbursement was also honored. My parents gave me the check, and I deposited it. With that money, I did something symbolic. I took $500 and bought myself a new graduation cake. Not to eat, but to photograph. I had the same bakery make a beautiful single-tier cake with "I'm enough" written on it in gold frosting. I took pictures and posted them on social media with a caption about self-love and healing. In August, I received my job offer for a full-time marketing position with a great salary. When I told my family at our weekly dinner, everyone celebrated genuinely. My mother got champagne. My father gave a toast about being proud of me. Melissa hugged me and said, "You earned this. You're amazing." Tyler made me a congratulations card at school. The contrast to my graduation day was stark. This time, my achievements were celebrated. This time, I felt seen. In September, I had another major milestone. I was accepted into a part-time MBA program. I could work full-time and take evening classes. When I told my family, my mother immediately asked about the schedule so she could make sure family dinners didn't conflict. My father asked about costs and offered to help with tuition, which I declined, but the offer itself was meaningful. Melissa said, "You're going to be incredible. I can't wait to say my sister has an MBA." The day of my MBA orientation, my entire family came, all of them. They sat in the audience during the welcome ceremony. When I looked out into the crowd, I saw them watching me, really watching me. My mother had tears in her eyes. My father was smiling. Melissa was recording on her phone. Tyler was sitting still and paying attention. After the ceremony, we went to dinner at a nice restaurant. Tyler behaved beautifully. He didn't interrupt, didn't demand attention, didn't throw a tantrum. At one point, he raised his glass of apple juice and said, "A toast to Aunt Rebecca, the smartest person I know." Everyone clinked glasses. I looked around the table at my family, and for the first time, I felt something I hadn't felt in over 2 decades. I felt loved. Not despite my achievements, but including them. Not in spite of who I was, but because of who I was. My mother reached over and squeezed my hand. "I'm sorry it took me so long to get here," she said quietly. "But I'm here now, and I'm so proud of you." "I know, Mom. Thank you." The healing wasn't instant. There were still hard days. There were still moments when old hurts surfaced and I had to work through them in my individual therapy. But the trajectory was clear. My family was changing. More importantly, I was changing. I was learning to trust again. I was learning to believe that love didn't have to be earned through perfection. In October, Melissa got her midterm grades. She had 2 A's and 2 B's. She called me excited. "Becca, I got my grades. I'm actually doing well." "I'm so proud of you," I said genuinely. "See, you can do this. I couldn't have done it without your example. Watching you work so hard all those years, even when we didn't appreciate it, that stuck with me. I just had to get out of my own way to see it." We talked for an hour about her classes, her study strategies, her plans for next semester. It was the kind of conversation I had always wanted to have with my sister. The kind of conversation where we supported each other instead of competing. Tyler continued his therapy and growth. By November, his therapist said he had made remarkable progress. He was showing empathy, taking responsibility for his actions, and developing into a kind child. When I told him how proud I was of his growth, he said something that made me cry. "I want to be like you when I grow up, Aunt Rebecca. Smart and strong and brave." "You're already brave, Tyler." It takes courage to change. In December, almost 7 months after the confrontation, we had a family meeting. Not a therapeutic one, just a regular family meeting at my parents' house. My mother had made my favorite meal. After dinner, my father stood up with a wrapped box. "Rebecca, your mother and I wanted to give you something. We know we can never make up for the past, but we want you to know we see you now." I opened the box. Inside was a beautiful leather-bound scrapbook. As I flipped through it, I saw that my parents had gone through all my old achievements and created a chronicle. Photos from my science fair win. Copies of my report cards. Articles about my scholarship. My college graduation program with my name highlighted. Acceptance letters from graduate programs. Every achievement they had dismissed or overlooked, now carefully documented and preserved. On the last page, my mother had written in her handwriting, "To our brilliant daughter Rebecca, we are sorry we didn't celebrate these moments when they happened. We celebrate them now and always. We love you. We are proud of you. You are enough. You have always been enough." I cried reading it. We all cried together. That night, as I drove home with a scrapbook on my passenger seat, I reflected on the journey. It had started with a destroyed cake and a child's cruel words. It had led to the hardest confrontation of my life. But it had ended with healing, growth, and genuine change. I thought about young Rebecca, the little girl who wrote in her journal that maybe if she got all A's, her mommy would be proud. I thought about teenage Rebecca working 3 jobs to pay for college because she was too capable to deserve help. I thought about college Rebecca shrinking herself to avoid making others uncomfortable. And I thought about current Rebecca, who had finally demanded the respect and love she deserved. It had taken 22 years and a dramatic confrontation with irrefutable evidence. It had required boundaries, consequences, and the willingness to walk away if necessary. But in the end, my family had chosen change. They had chosen me. Not all families would make that choice. I knew I was lucky. Some people set boundaries and lose their families forever. But I had been prepared for that outcome. I had been ready to walk away if they couldn't change. That readiness, that willingness to lose them, had paradoxically given me the strength to save the relationship. As I pulled into my apartment complex, I thought about the future. I had a family that was learning to love me properly. I had a career I was excited about. I had an education I was proud of. I had self-respect I had fought hard to claim. And I had learned the most important lesson of all. Standing up for yourself isn't selfish. Demanding respect isn't cruel. Setting boundaries isn't punishment. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is refuse to accept less than you deserve. Sometimes, the only way to save a relationship is to risk losing it completely. I walked into my apartment, set the scrapbook on my table, and smiled. It had been a long, painful journey. But I had finally arrived at a place I never thought possible. I had arrived at a place where I was loved, valued, and celebrated by my family. And it had all started with refusing to eat that cake off the floor. So here's my question for you. Have you ever had to stand up to your family and demand better treatment? Have you ever had to choose between keeping the peace and respecting yourself? Drop a comment and tell me your story. I read every single one, and your experiences help others feel less alone. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button. Subscribe to hear more stories about family drama, justice served, and people standing up for themselves. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that it's okay to demand respect, even from family. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for validating my experience by being here. To everyone out there dealing with toxic family dynamics, please know this. You deserve better. You are enough. Your achievements matter. Your feelings matter. You matter. Don't let anyone, not even family, convince you otherwise. I hope my story gave you hope that change is possible or strength to walk away if it's not. Either way, choose yourself. Always choose yourself. That's not selfish, that's survival. Take care of yourselves out there. Remember, blood doesn't make family. Love, respect, and genuine care make family. And if your blood relatives can't give you that, you have every right to find chosen family who will. Until next time, stay strong, set boundaries, and never ever eat cake off the floor for anyone.